One of the number one rules as a personal trainer is to meet every single person where they're at, to meet every single client where they're at in their life and in their journey. Working for the ranch is no different. When people come, you have to meet them exactly where they're at in life. And it has truly, truly taught me to not judge a book by its cover. People come out of the black cars, out of their Rivians and their Mercedes and whatnot, coming to the ranch. And it's so easy just to look at that and say, oh man, this person sucks. But
like they're entitled, they're going to be.
And a lot of them are. And a lot of them are entitled and whatever. But it's my job to break that mold and to show them that it's not about all the material things in their life. It's about all the things that really make a human rich. These experiences and this time outside and this time together with other people, these are the experiences that hold more wealth in life than material and currency.
Welcome to At the Table podcast through Bel Air Church. You know, the table is a setting that Jesus is very frequently at in the Gospels. In fact, he's either on his way to a meal, at a meal, or having just left a meal. More teaching and ministry happens at the table than in any other context. And this podcast is about taking some time with a guest and really exploring the ways in which their faith intersects with the work that they do in the world. Over the course of this podcast, we're going to cover a lot of different industries, and today we've got a great opportunity to dive deep into the life of Hayden Burdge. He is somebody who has a tremendous story, actually growing up in both Idaho and in Malibu. Had a journey through kind of heading the wrong direction, came out of addiction, and pretty amazingly has worked with so many youth and teens in their journey of recovery, but ultimately right now is a strength and fitness and coach trainer at the Ranch in Malibu. And so we're going to get deep into doing hard things, getting outside your comfort zone, showing up, choosing to be part of a community, and what he has learned along the way, and how amazing it is for us to be able to remind ourselves that God is continuing to write a story with our lives. We're not done with it. And so very excited that you join us today at the Table. Well, here we are with Hayden Burdge. So awesome to have you here. You know, Hayden is somebody that is in a lot of different places. And what's so wild is we're here, I think for the first time ever since knowing you, inside. I've only ever interacted with you outside on the dirt. But Hayden is the strength trainer, coach, at the Ranch of Malibu, but you've been doing also work with the School of Addiction Recovery, which focuses on helping teens and young adults get out of addiction, mental health. You just did a fundraiser recently. There was a big 24-hour race. You're raising funds for SOAR, that School of Addiction Recovery. Try to get as many miles as you can within 24 hours. You met your fundraising goal and you podiumed, which was amazing. Hayden Burdge, welcome to At the Table.
Thanks, Drew.
So what's so crazy is we kind of met randomly out on the trail, and I remember exactly that moment. But I want to hear the story from your point of view.
Yeah,
what was going on that day? Why were you out there?
Well, let's back up before that. So I was guiding a group of hikers for this fitness and endurance resort called the Ranch Malibu, and we're on a route going up to Chamberlain Rock, and I see a guy ahead of me on the trail, and he's got his Satisfy gear on, and maybe some. He had some. He didn't have Nordas on at the time, but some other trail running shoes. And I'm looking, and I go, "Oh, this guy's legit. This guy's legit." And I get closer to you, and you're like, "Hey, you guys are with the ranch? You work for the ranch?" I'm like, "Yeah." And that was like about it. And you're like, "Oh yeah," you introduce yourself. "Hey, I'm Drew." I was like, "Hey, I'm Hayden." But I was, I'm working, I'm guiding this group behind me. And, I just don't, I meet people all the time on the trail. So I'm like, oh, it was just another trail runner. And then fast forward, gosh, maybe 2 months.
It was
or
months
something.
later.
Yeah, maybe 2 or 3 months. I'm running the Ray Miller 50-mile ultra starting at the Ray Miller trails. One of the sections is you go up the Chamberlain climb all the way up to Sandstone. And I'm going up the climb. There's no one around me. It's super foggy. And this was probably like 22 miles in. I hadn't seen a person in hours. And super dense fog. And it's like kind of like dusk almost. And I'm going up these switchbacks, the same switchbacks I saw you on like months before. And I see a person. And I recognized your back because you had the same Satisfy shirt on. And I go, no way. This is that guy I met like months ago. And I'm like in the same spot.
Literally the same spot, like the same switchback.
Oh, what made the story more memorable was when I met you, the clouds. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was the first time, I think.
The first time.
So you were guiding this group from the ranch, which we'll get into in a bit.
I was guiding the group in the clouds. It looked like we were underwater. It was really cool. Like, and when I'm in those moments, I just think about being in creation and just how special it is. And we bonded over that. I go, dude, look at these clouds. And you're like, I know. And I thought it felt like we were underwater. And you go, it's like we're underwater. I was
yeah,
like,
because it was so crazy because clouds take so many different shapes, right?
Yeah.
And literally, I'm remembering back, and it was almost like, literally, like you're under the pool water, you're in the ocean, somewhere clear, and you're looking up, and the way that it was shaped and the color of it, it was so surreal.
So that's when we first met. Sorry. So fast forward, I'm running up these switchbacks, and I see you, and in the exact same spot where we met, and I'm like, no way. And I'm like, dude, we met right here. I was like, what's your name again? And you're like, Drew. And then I forgot how we started talking about faith. It came up somehow, like it does.
And it was in that conversation.
It was in that conversation
point, yeah?
where you go, oh, you said, you asked me what I did. Or you said, I work for the ranch. And I was like, what do you do? You said, I'm a pastor. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Like, there's pastors out here. And you looked at me.
Which most people don't respond and say, that's so cool. most people change the subject at that point.
I was like, and you look at me and you go, man, this is a divine appointment. And I'd never heard that before. And I was like, that is the coolest thing. I was like, you're right. It's like, we're meant to be like right here, right now, on the trail in this moment, like pushing each other up this climb. Like God has put both of us here to push each other. And then I was a little stronger than you that day. So I
you crushed it, dude. Because you were passing me at that point in the race.
Go ahead.
I went out a little too fast for what I could sustain for the 50 miles. And you ended up, I think, an hour plus ahead of me.
So that was the first time, or that was the first like official meeting of you and me. And then I think we just connected on Strava, and
which, if people aren't familiar with Strava, it's this platform that's been around for like 10 years, originally for cyclists and then runners in different sports, but it's like a social media app.
You give kudos on people's efforts, their runs, their bike rides and stuff. So we connected on this platform, and there was always exchanges like, hey, let's go for a run, this and that, and I just kept running into you, and I would like find myself on the trails like with a thought, I'd be like, oh, I remember Pastor Drew, and I would like turn a corner and you would just be there,
which happened multiple times, which is so wild. Because what we're talking about, I know people are listening from all over, but if you live in Los Angeles, you're familiar with the Santa Monica Mountain Range. So these trails that Hayden is talking about are in the Santa Monica Mountain Range. The Ray Miller Trail is actually the kind of the northwestern terminus of the Backbone Trail, very historic trail. So these are hundreds of miles of trails that link together and sort of meet each other out there. But I'm really curious. So why don't we talk about the ranch for a bit?
Sure.
So how did you first hear about the ranch, and then how did you start? What was your first role there? What is your role today?
Yeah.
And what is the ranch?
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I found out about the ranch in July of 2020, no, not July, in like April 2022. I was living, I grew up in Sun Valley, Idaho. So I was there at the time. This was in like spring 2022. I was working at a small personal training studio called Rapid Results. It was group fitness, one-on-one coaching, and yeah, I was working there Monday through Friday, coaching clients, long, hard days, like sometimes 16-hour days, just training clients. And I just kind of felt, like I wanted more, just like to expand my horizons. I've always romanticized about this idea of like a trainer, like a personal trainer that would like work, like do a residency somewhere, like in Bali or Hawaii or it's just something like
destination.
like a resort.
Yeah.
I always thought that'd be like a cool idea. So I just remember one night going on Indeed and just typing in resort fitness trainer, just to explore. And, a bunch of different locations popped up. There's like the Four Seasons on Lanai, stuff in like some islands. And then there was the Ranch Malibu. And I've spent my life coming back and forth between Malibu, Sun Valley, and I always like kind of knew of the ranch. I knew of a couple guys who worked for the ranch. It's kind of like a secretive. I don't really think people know about it in Malibu.
A lot of people in LA and Malibu don't know.
It's kind
of
of elusive.
Yeah.
And so I recognized the logo on Indeed. It's an R with a little like line over the R. So I recognized the logo at first, and I applied to like 5 different like job opportunities, like resorts. And the ranch was the first to get back to me, and they needed a trainer for this pop-up they were doing in Vail, Colorado. And they said, hey, we have this opportunity in Vail. Would you like to be a trainer at this pop-up for 3 months? And I'm like, yeah, it sounds incredible. I'm certified personal trainer. I sent in my resume, everything, and I sent them this like American Idol style video of me like doing like coaching a group fitness class.
Do you still have that on file somewhere?
It's on my phone somewhere.
You got to dust that off. Oh, you have to show me afterwards.
Yeah, I will. So yeah, I sent all this stuff to the ranch, and I like put the other companies on the back burner, just focus on the ranch because I talked to my parents about it, and they're like, oh, this is like a really great resort that's like really prestigious. They're the number 1 wellness resort in the country. And I didn't know any of this. I knew nothing about hospitality. I was just trying something new, right?
Which, by the way, that's a big standard to be the number 1 wellness retreat.
Yeah.
Condé Nast and other publications. It continues to win these awards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And people come in from all over, right?
All over the world. Yeah. International guests every single week.
And it's a week-long experience when people come in?
Yeah, it's 7 to 9 days. I'll get there.
Okay.
So, long story short, they hire me to fill this trainer job at the pop-up. But they said, oh, before you go to Vail in August, we want to fly you out, and you're going to live on the property to train, like do your employee training. And we want you as a guest for a week so you can like get to know, be immersed in the program and basically resonate with all the guests, their experiences, their emotions, the highs, the lows. Essentially what it is, they put you in a calorie deficit for a week. And so we're eating around 1,500 calories every day, and it's all plant-based diet. And everything's made from scratch. The food is extremely creative and flavorful and tasteful. And at the time, there wasn't any caffeine. There's no caffeine, no alcohol. So the idea is to just like really cleanse your system of any and all toxins like going into the program. And so they call it like Terrible Tuesday, like the second day you're there, because like your body is like resisting not having caffeine, and you're just drinking water, eating whole natural foods. The program is based around a 4-hour hike. And then after the hike, there's, fitness, yoga, breath work, meditation, massages, all sorts of great stuff, acupuncture, chiropractor. It's awesome.
All on site.
It's adult summer camp is basically what it is. And, there's a misconception. people think it's like a recovery center, or like where like Hollywood celebrities come to like detox, which it kind of is a detox. You can use it as that, but it's for people to just unplug. A lot of our clientele are really busy entrepreneurs, CEOs, men and women who are dealing with a ton of internal and external stressors when it comes to their professional life, and it's a place they can just come. You know, we emphasize like either like leave your phone in your room or in your backpack and just like really be present. Like how often do your only job is to focus on yourself, like for a week, just like truly be present, unplug. And I got to experience that as a guest. So I had all the guides around me who I would eventually be with, but I got to experience the program a week for myself. And then the next 2 weeks, I did my employee training. And then they sent me to Vail, an amazing experience. 3 months, it was like a skeleton crew, 6 guides.
Oh, so the pop-up lasted for 3 months.
Yeah, the pop-up was 3 months, and
summertime, I imagine.
Yeah, it was like late summer into fall in Colorado, and it was amazing. I mean, in the Rockies, we took guests. One of our biggest hikes, we took guests up to 13,000 feet. Everyone was sleeping at 8,000, and then we'd hike between 9 to 13, and just the terrain. I mean, watching the colors change from summer to fall, like I mean, till this day, it was like one of the best experiences. And but they hired me to be a trainer for the pop-up, but I got like the old razzle dazzle pulled on me. They're like, "Oh, you're not only going to be the trainer, you're also going to guide the hikes every day too," and thinking that would be like a burden on me. And I'm like, yeah.
How did I win the jackpot?
Yeah, I'm like, this is amazing. I not only get to hike, but also coach group fitness in the afternoons. And so, yeah, it's one of those moments where I'm like, everything was locked in because we had this schedule every day, just like hiking, get back, clean, organize, train, fitness, and then like go to sleep, do it all over again. And it was like this beautiful in sync like thing for like 3 months. And it's kind of like when you're doing like a long like through hike or an ultra, when like that's your only job. The simplicity of that pop-up was great because there were no other distractions. It was just focus on the job, focus on the task at hand, like execute the day every single day.
It's amazing. So that was 2022. We're now in 2025. So you've stuck with the ranch, right?
So I'll complete the story.
Yeah.
So at the time, they said, come to Vail, be a trainer as an independent contractor, and we'll talk about a potential job in Malibu after the pop-up.
Gotcha.
So what I did from Idaho, I packed up everything I owned in my truck and drove to Vail, just anticipating that they would hire me full-time in Malibu. And this whole time, you know, I'm talking to God. I'm just like, I trust your plan. I know the chapter that you're writing. You know, it's already been written, and I'm just living it, and I trust you. And I know the plan you have for me is to move to Malibu, work for the ranch, and just like go from there. Like all these doors were open, and all I had to do was trust. And so I'm in Idaho, drive to Vail, do the pop-up. It was the last week of the pop-up, and my 2 bosses call me, and they're like, "Oh, we've just had so much great feedback from the pop-up. We want to hire you to work in Malibu." This was on a Friday. I had all my stuff in my truck, and they're like, "When can you start?"
And this is the last week of the 3 months.
They're like, "When can you start?" And I said, "On Monday," because I had all my stuff. So I drove from Colorado to Malibu, and then I started working like 4 days after the pop-up ended. And then
that's wild.
Been here ever since.
So in the clarity that you had, so you go into the summer really believing that God was writing a story, that you're along for the ride,
100%.
that was going to go from Sun Valley to Vail to Malibu. Is that a common experience for you, or was that abnormal to have that sense of clarity, that sense of, because I'm also always curious of that, you hear a lot of people say like, I felt like God told me to do this. And for some people, that's just their own mind and wanting God to like bless their own plans.
Yeah.
And so I'm always curious.
I wouldn't say that he told me it was going to happen. I think people throw out the term God told me to do X, Y, and Z. People throw that term around way too loosely. It was just more, I just had a feeling. It's almost like,
yeah.
I mean, I believe that he plants these thoughts and these emotions and like just these feelings into my brain, and it goes into my life. And so it wasn't so much him telling me to do this. It was just, I had so much confidence, and it just felt easy when I was doing it. Like no stress, no anxiety about it. I just knew that this was what I was supposed to do. And all the doors, it's open. I know now. I mean, looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, this was the plan.
There's this cool psalm that I misunderstood growing up, but I've now come to realize what it actually meant. And so the psalm, I think it's like Psalm 37, somewhere in the Psalms. And essentially it says, delight yourself in the Lord, and God will give you the desires of your heart. And I used to think wrongly, oh, I know the desires of my heart. How do I get the desires of my heart? I guess I just have to delight in the Lord, as if God was a means to my end. That's not at all what it means. It means that if you're delighting in the Lord, trusting the Lord, worshiping the Lord, spending time with the Lord, then to your point, God will give you desires and dreams and longings that are in accordance with his heart. And it's almost like it changes your value system, right? So was it a bit of that? Like and we'll get maybe later on into your faith journey, but would you say that going into Sun Valley, would you describe your relationship with God as something that was strong, a central
Going
part of
into
your
Vail?
life? I mean, going into Vail out of Sun Valley, was God at that point in your life? Was God a key part of your?
My faith was not nearly as strong as it is today, but I mean, we can get into this now if you want, but I mean, I've been I was like lukewarm Christian.
I mean, was it something you grew up around?
Yes.
Like parents? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was born and raised in a Christian home, Presbyterian, or my mom was raised strict Catholic. We grew up going to some Catholic churches and services, but most of my fondest memories are going to Presbyterian churches.
Was that in Sun Valley or
Malibu and Sun Valley?
Oh, cool.
Back and forth.
Did you have family in Malibu?
So my dad's from Encino.
No way.
Right here.
That's
He went to,
wild.
Encino High. I'm
Did
pretty
he
sure.
really?
Yeah, and he went to USC.
Crazy.
And my mom's from Louisiana. And he went to SC. He's an architect, and my mom was a flight attendant. And they met on a layover, I believe, in Santa Monica. But I have a twin brother. We're fraternal twins, and we were born in Santa Monica. We spent our elementary years in Malibu. My dad's an architect here in Malibu. He still has an office here.
Oh, very cool.
And then we moved to Sun Valley, Idaho. And that's where I spent like my true boyhood years of like adolescence, all the things, all the growing up, the girls, the parties, all the stuff.
All in Sun Valley.
Yeah, this was in Idaho. But we grew up coming back and forth. So we like come back for the summers to Malibu, go winters. Like, we just always come back and forth. My dad's business is here. Ended up finishing high school in Malibu, just my senior year. Kind of random, but that's
Malibu High?
Yeah, Malibu High.
The Makos, right? Or the Sharks?
The
or
Sharks,
whatever. The
yeah.
Sharks?
Yeah. That's just how it panned out. I finished super random, but finished my senior year of high school at Malibu High. Went to college. Brother went to college. But when it comes to faith, I was just surrounded by it with my parents. I grew up watching them go to Bible studies. We'd go to church on Sundays. We'd do these family camps at Lake Nacimiento.
Oh, I love that.
And
the Dragon.
The Dragon.
Yeah.
And in those there was like every summer we'd go to these family camps with like 10 or 12 families. And it was all revolved around faith. There was a pastor that would come, but in my like 10, 11-year-old brain, that never computed with me. It was like these families get together. Why are we getting baptized? I don't know what this means. We would be around the campfires, like telling stories about Jesus and his disciples and telling scriptures. I'm like, what is this? Like,
why are we even talking about this?
Why are we talking about this? And it's just funny looking back now. Like, faith has been so rooted in my life, my entire life. And it's not that I had no idea, but I was just like so blind to it. I was like, oh yeah, this is my
parents.
It's my parents' thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is what they do.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I think that's so many people's stories.
I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not that I didn't like believe in God. I wasn't like an atheist, but I was like, oh, this is just what my parents do.
Yeah.
They go and hang out with their friends and like study the Bible. I'm like, that's lame. I'm like, I'll never do that. And it just came down to them leading by example. And, as I got older, there was I went into a period where I put them through a lot of trial and tribulation of just a lot of screw ups in my early to mid 20s, and a lot of lessons learned in those times. And my mom would pray for me, and she would vocally be with me praying for me, and my dad they would be praying over me just because I was screwing up in life and couldn't find a rhythm of what I was doing. And
what did that look like back then?
In my teenage years, I was just rebellious, like for no reason. Doing underage drinking, doing drugs, selling weed, smoking cigarettes, like at a young age, and just trying to like be cool, like what like the older, cooler kids in high school were doing. Like all I wanted to do was just like fit in and like be cool, like quote unquote. And what that was skipping class, drinking, smoking weed, doing whatever. And that trickled into my college years, just like abusing alcohol and abusing drugs and women, just like womanizing and just bad stuff, man. Sinful nature, just a lot of it. And
your parents, you were saying, were there for you, supporting you, praying for you.
All they did was support me.
It's interesting, in some contexts, parents will say when they find out things like that, they'll kick you out of the house. They'll quote disown you. Would you describe your home life as one of grace, but also truth, or was it
so much grace?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, man. I mean, I look back and the times I would come home, drunk or still high, and they would know, and wake up the next morning like nothing ever happened. But they're in their bedroom talking about it, and there were times of discipline, but there was never talks of like disownment or anything. It was just, there was just so much love. It was just only love. And it took me so long to just realize that. And I always, obviously, your parents love you, but it just, there were particular moments where I saw my dad's the sweetest person ever. And there was one particular moment where I came home and just like wasted, almost got arrested from almost getting a DUI. And I just remember him being so mad at me and like screaming off the top of his lungs, you're an effing piece of S, like to my face in the kitchen. And I knew that I never wanted to see like him like that ever again. Like, this is my dad, and for him to say that, like, you could tell he meant it. And
so that wasn't a normal pattern.
I mean,
it was very out of his normal character.
Yeah,
You describe him as somebody sweet. You talk about your home life as being grace-filled and loving, and yet...
And for him to see like the rage in his eyes, that was a huge wake-up call. Just, I never want to ever see him in this state again.
But would you describe that outburst as motivated by love, though? Because I hear you describing grace and love.
Yeah, because he cares. You know, he doesn't want to see me spiral out of control. And this was in I call it my I have a past life and a present life. I went to school for illustration and graphic design, and this is like a classic case of you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So in my college years and even after, I was living in LA, going to Otis, and then I was living in Portland, Oregon, working as an illustrator and graphic designer and an artist. And Portland especially, I'm in the art scene. I'm an artist. I'm working for brands. I'm collaborating, doing shows. And what do artists do? They want to be cool. So they go out to bars every single night. You're going to shows. You're doing drugs 5 nights a week. You're in the scene. You're smoking cigarettes. You're just hanging out with the bikers and the skaters and the punk rockers. And I was trying to, uphold this image. And, I was doing what I loved. I went to school for illustration. I loved to draw and design, but I was also trying to just be this person and hold a persona online. And it was exhausting, and I had no prioritization of health and fitness. I would always like to look a certain way. I would go to the gym just to make sure I had abs, or
all about the aesthetic, right?
Yeah, I was all about the aesthetic, and I was vegan and plant-based. An introduction from one of my first serious relationships. I was vegan and plant-based. It was a total conundrum, hypocritical situation. I was drinking.
And was it more for health reasons or ethical reasons or both?
It started out as I'm saving the planet.
Yeah.
And then it just was, I got scared to not eat. I got scared to eat meat. It was that long. I was vegan for 7 years.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where I developed this phobia of animal products. I didn't know how my body would react. Anyway, that's a whole other. There's so many rabbit holes of my past life we could dive into, but I'll try to keep us on track. Sorry.
But so as an illustrator, you look at the past life and the present life. You talked about the sum of 5. Who you are surrounded by. Portland. Whole scene was very much. I was saying that I was living a very hypocritical lifestyle where I was vegan and plant-based, in my nutrition, and then I was drinking, doing drugs, and smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. Yeah.
And just literally pile driving, nose diving my life into the ground. Just to.
Is that mid-20s roughly? Early mid-20s?
Yeah. This is early to mid-20s and going into late 20s. But things started to turn around.
Was there a catalyst? Or was it
the catalyst was I was messaging back and forth with a guy I met in my undergrad, and he lives in Austin, and basically challenged me to train and run the Austin Marathon. And I was like, people who run are stupid. Running's dumb. Who runs? I could do this. This is easy. And I started training for this marathon, and this was in 2019. And in that process, I just realized I had all this potential. I was just throwing away, just untapped, just throwing away my life. I have this goal, and I started training for an actual tangible goal. Everything just started to make sense. Everything, my body changed, my health changed. I started to dial in my nutrition. I was smoking cigarettes trying to train for this marathon, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't smoke cigarettes and train for this marathon. So, you know, I'm a man of extremes. So when I decide to do something, I just go all in, and I say, smoking cigarettes are keeping me from this goal. So I just quit. I was like, okay,
Cold turkey.
Yeah, this is an easy elimination process. I'm just going to quit smoking. So I quit smoking, and then everything just started to change. Like, tapered down the alcohol. I would use alcohol. What kind of backfired? I would kind of use it as like a reward, because I would go in these like training runs and then like drink.
I earned that 6-pack.
Drink on the weekends,
Yeah.
you know? I'd be like, I'm only going to drink on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And that kind of wound up biting me in the butt, just because I would overdo it. But anyway, long story short, I get to Austin, I run the marathon, and I felt like I could have kept going all day. Body felt great. I had so much energy. And I had this light bulb moment where I was like, I want more. I want to be more. I was already facing a kind of like crux in my professional life, where I was working for a design job, designing graphics for big brands like Macy's and Nordstrom's and Target, and just like graphic design, clothing for those companies. And I got pretty weighed down by, I felt like I wasn't contributing to society. I feel like I was just, designing, making these graphics, and I was like, what am I doing? Like this like mass consumption and mass production of these clothes, and it's going out to these big box stores, and like, what am I doing? I'm just like this designer on a computer. Like, who am I helping? Who am I helping? And in that training block, I became obsessed with just like going to the gym, building my body. And I'm like, all right, like I want to become a trainer, like I love to train. I love to, I'm just going to, give this a shot. So
all of this is happening while training for the Austin Marathon.
Yeah, that was the catalyst, basically.
Which is wild because, I think a lot of people think, okay, I've got to quit smoking, I've got to reduce the alcohol, I've got to make the changes, and then maybe as I feel better, as I feel stronger, maybe I'll then think about doing a 5K, a 10K.
Yeah.
Maybe then I'll think about doing something like that, think about doing the marathon. But I hear you saying that you set an intention of a goal that was so big in some sense that you had to figure out, how do I eliminate the things to get to that goal
that didn't serve me,
that didn't serve you. But then to be able to open it up and to consider an entirely different career. It's amazing to look back at that moment. If we had a divine appointment on the trail, that was a bit of a divine challenge from that friend of yours from undergrad.
Yeah. And really it came down to, at the time I was, I think 25, and I was just looking at my life ahead of me. I'm like, I have my whole life. Like, just go for it. Like, if you are unhappy with your current situation, it doesn't matter how old you are, just change it. Just change your situation, change the people you're around. As corny as it is, like, do what makes you happy. Just take the leap, I've heard the term, fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep. So all you have to do is just take that next step. It's not, you're not gonna plummet into the deep end. You're just gonna be right above the water line. I mean, the future could be very vast, a mile wide. And just take that first step, and the water will just be ankle deep. Just go for it. And so, yeah, I reached out to a buddy who I knew was, this is entering the whole school of addiction recovery rabbit hole.
Yeah, so how did that? So SOAR is the acronym. So School of Addiction Recovery.
There's so much to go into, man.
So they're
there's
based
so much
out
to go
of,
into.
Which is
Ogden, Utah.
Ogden, Utah.
Yeah.
And so, who are the typical type of
Okay,
people
let me
that
just back up.
SOAR?
Let me just back up. This is the craziest story about SOAR. So, right when I'm getting my stuff together, my life on track, I see a video on Facebook of this kid. His name was Jamie at the time, in high school. This is the kid I would like do drugs with. This is the kid I was smoking weed with, and
this is not some Jamie out in the country. This is an actual kid that you knew?
Yeah, so
not with the same name, but the actual
his name's
kid.
Frank now.
Okay.
So I'll get there. So
but you personally knew this person. Okay.
So I'm on Facebook like after the marathon. It's like right after the marathon. And I see a video of who I knew was Jamie. And he's at this huge gym, this huge, beautiful facility. He's on the assault bike, doing power cleans, doing rows. I'm like, what
I know that guy.
I'm like, I know. Is that Jamie Jameson? And what is this video? What is this gym? What is this place? And like I said, this is the kid I was doing drugs with and drinking, underage drinking, like going to parties with. And I hadn't seen or talked to him in like, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years. And I still had his number from high school. And I text him. I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're doing or what this is, because it said Ogden, Utah. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I need to be there. I'm like being pulled to be there. I can't explain it, but I need to be there because I saw all the videos of them coaching these kids. It's a big CrossFit facility with all these young kids, these moms, these dads, all these adults, this 10,000 square foot gym. And, you know, his name's Frank now. He legally changed his name to Frank. So Jamie, what I found out was Jamie was going back and forth from Sun Valley to Salt Lake City. He was an addict. He was addicted to heroin. He almost died being addicted to heroin. He found SOAR, the School of Addiction Recovery. They completely picked him back on his feet, and he became a student of SOAR, and then he became the director of operations. And I'm seeing this on Facebook, and I just text him. I'm like, I don't know what this is, but I'm just pulled. I'm pulled to it. I need to do this. And I said, can I help in any way? And, you know, he's like, dude, I haven't talked to you in, you know, years. And it's crazy that you just texted me. We need a coach for the youth program.
Wow.
And he's like, are you a trainer? I was like, I just got my certification to be a personal trainer. And he's like, when can you start? I'm like, whenever you need me. And I was in Sun Valley, packed up everything I owned, drove to Ogden, didn't know one person but Frank. He changed his name to Frank through recovery.
And at this time, he's director of operations.
Yeah, so
for SOAR.
in recovery, he changed his name to Frank. You know, almost like turning a new page.
Yeah.
That's his journey. So packed up everything I owned, drove to Ogden, signed a lease at an apartment, and within a week, I became a coach at SOAR for the youth program called the Young Bucks. And I was coaching these middle schoolers, high schoolers, and like a mom fitness programs like Coach CrossFit. There's all the moms of these kids called SOAR Fit.
And is a requirement or is a common denominator for the kids that they're coming out of addiction, or is it kind of a mixed group?
It's a kind of a mixed bag.
Okay.
The kids program was twice a work week, and then every Saturday, so three days during a week.
Open to anyone, kind of public.
Yeah, so some of the kids came from kind of like broken-ish homes. Maybe they were struggling with some underage drinking or vaping or stuff like that, or just whatever. And then you have kids who were just dropped off, like how a mom or dad would drop their kids off, you know, to soccer practice. They bring them to SOAR because SOAR provides this structure, this very positive environment where kids, they come, we teach them how to Olympic weightlift. I was teaching 11-year-olds how to Olympic weightlift, how to power clean and deadlift and back squat. And I mean, it completely changed my life because of the way it changed their life. Seeing these kids going from confidence level 0 to 10 in a matter of, 3 to 6 or 8 months, it just begs the question, like, why isn't there a SOAR in every town or city of America?
Is that the only location for SOAR?
It's the only location. And it just blew me away. I mean, I didn't know anyone. I only knew Frank, and these families who I was with every single day, they took me in it's just like one of their own, and they just supported me, and I'd go to dinners with them and lunch and breakfast, and they just were the nicest families. I mean, everyone's Mormon, but had nothing to do with the Mormon church. I mean, there were a lot of like Mormon donors and backers and stuff, and the SOAR, the owners, they're all Mormon. All the families are Mormon. I mean, I'm in Ogden, Utah, but the nicest people. Then literally, I'm serious, Drew. Like, I've never been around more nicer people than the Mormons of Ogden, Utah. Yeah, so family oriented. Everything's just so goal driven. Just like work hard, stay in school, like be healthy, get the job done. Like, it was just like, wow. Like, I mean, it was great.
And among the coaches, so you talked about Jamie/Frank.
Yeah.
Your story now as a coach there. But was it kind of a higher percentage of coaches and people who were part of the faculty, part of the administration, with a story of addiction recovery themselves?
Yeah, I was the only coach that wasn't in recovery.
Okay.
So
so all the coaches were in recovery themselves?
All the coaches were students.
Oh, wow.
So you have the founder, Dustin, who started SOAR. He went through his recovery journey. He was a former pro MLB player who went through addiction and recovery and created SOAR. Back in the day, it was I think it's 15 years old or something. But yeah, the current coaches and everything were students. And yeah, I was the only person who wasn't in recovery, but they never made me feel unwelcomed or in that way of me, not being sober. I never felt exiled or uncomfortable in these situations. And yeah, it was awesome being there.
And you're still connected because I know in the sense, you just ran this very well-known race, Jackpot Ultra, right? And you did some fundraising for it.
Yeah.
Did a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
And so you're no longer officially on staff because you're full-time at the ranch, right? But you still have that connection, right?
SOAR is just a place that it just holds a really special place in my heart. The people that started it, all the coaches, and just the kids, the families, it's just something that it fundamentally changed me as a person, just being there in Ogden working for SOAR. I wouldn't be the person I am today without that chapter in my life. And for me, I structure my life around paying it forward. So, and leading by example. And paying it forward is to pay it forward to SOAR. And all the opportunities that they gave me, the experiences that they provided me, and the lessons and the teachings. And I was truly a student under the tutelage of Dustin and Frank and Cord, and the list goes on, all these coaches and people, and Autumn, Dustin's wife. And yeah, it just holds a special place. And every time I'd drive back and forth from SoCal to Idaho, I'd always stop.
Go right through Ogden.
I have the same little hotel I'd always stop in. I'd always stop at SOAR, get a workout in. And yeah, I'll never not be associated with them.
Part of the SOAR family.
Yeah.
So I know addiction is complex and every story is unique. And you've got your story. You've worked with so many kids, hundreds probably over the time of, and other people. So there's no one size fits all to, if you just do this, then, you'll come out of it. But if looking back and speaking from personal experience, what are one or two things that come to mind that seem to be more frequently part of the ingredients of recovery? Is it community? Is it going after something bigger than yourself? Looking back, and again, I know there's no one size fits all, and there's no magic pill or silver bullet, but there's so many people who privately are struggling with addiction and aren't yet public about it, who are maybe listening right now. What are some things that you've seen, or even from your own personal experience, are things that maybe more often than not can be helpful on the journey towards recovery? Because it's a long journey. It doesn't happen overnight. Yeah,
community is huge. I mean, having, even if it's just one person, it's It's all about accountability. Having at least one person, one friend to talk to, text, just to keep you accountable. And I say this all the time, but it's just to keep showing up. So let's say you're a part of a group or a meeting or a gym or a run club, and you just have to keep showing up and just to trust that it will work out. You have to trust. You have to put that trust in yourself, because it will work out without action. You have to do it. You just have to keep showing up to these little groups, whether it be an AA, a Bible study, like I said, a run group, a gym. I know you don't want to do it, but you just got to do it, man. I mean, like I said, you're the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with, and if you want to be better, you have to surround yourself with people that are like you or even better than you, and to lift each other up. And it just takes a village. You can't go at it alone. That's with anything, but I mean, that'd be I'm not going through recovery, but from what I've seen, especially with SOAR, I mean, it was a family. And when people would screw up, they would get in check. Like, people would keep each other accountable and call each other out, and we need that. Every person needs that. You don't get called out when you're by yourself, because we're so good at negotiating with ourselves. And you need that accountability. And just start small. Start with a friend, meet people. Try not to get overwhelmed by like going to something big, but find something local. Get comfortable with your local community, and start small. Keep showing up.
Keep showing up. I love that. Well, let's go back to the ranch if you don't mind. So it's pretty wild to consider a 1,500 calorie a day diet, and is that across the board, regardless of how tall, short, how much you weigh? 1,500 across the board, roughly.
Yeah, every person.
And then, so what's wild is you're not 1,500 calories sitting on the couch all day. You're getting out and hiking.
Yeah,
and lifting.
They're in a significant deficit every day. So,
and people pay to do this, and they're coming from around the globe. You said, I remember, some of these people are CEOs. These are leaders. They're used to calling the shots. They're used to being in control. What are some themes that you observe? Because you see all different individuals from around the globe coming. You talked about, what was it, Terrible Tuesdays? But what are some things that you observe as people are making a change, getting outside their comfort zone, that I think that we can learn from, because so many people can get stuck in ruts, and sometimes there's a fear to make a change. And you don't have to spend a lot of money to go to a place to make a change. But ultimately, when you get out of your comfort zone, there can be reactions to want to come back into the comfort zone. So what kind of behavior do you see pop up over the course of the week with people?
Yeah.
What does Terrible Tuesday look like?
Well, my biggest piece of advice to these guests that come is to not resist the program. And it's just to be fully present in it. The people that have the worst experiences there are very resistant to it. Let's say they get quote unquote sent there by a spouse or their job, and their mindset is, I have to be here.
I got to get through this.
Got to get through this. Yeah. This is just going to suck. And so you just have to be present. I know that word is just thrown around in the term, and being present can seem very woo-woo and what have you, but it's the truth. You got to come in and just submit to the program and submit yourself to being present. My favorite part about it is to see people like come out of their shells, and I love to help them do that. So a lot of people they come on Sunday, and
so that's day one usually.
Yeah,
it's like
Sunday. It's like day 0.
Okay.
Either Saturday arrivals or Sunday arrivals, but for the most part, people come on Sunday. And I like to see the evolution of the group in the week. So some people are just like easy peasy. They come, they have fun, they do it. You have others that you could tell right off the bat that they don't want to be there, and in their head, they're thinking this is going to be super hard. And it is what you make it. And I love being on trail with people to break them outside of their shell, to get them talking, to help them realize that even if they're 60 years old, that they still have so much left, so much potential on the table left that they haven't even tapped into. So many mental barriers that they can break through in their personal lives, their professional lives. And a lot of people do come because they are stuck in a rut. And that's why I consider myself as a coach, and a personal trainer is the job title, but I consider myself a coach more to really coach people through and navigate through just these little intersections of life. Like I say, little roadblocks to like break through barriers, mentally, physically, spiritually. The spiritually comes with some people when I'm out there. Not everyone knows I'm a Christian and I don't have the I'm with Jesus button on my shirt, but it comes out with the right people. I kind of like cast a fishing line and see who takes the bait. But mainly I love to test people physically and mentally, and to show them that they just have more. They have more than they think. And just to submit to the program and just to be present in nature. It's such a blessing to be outside, to move your body, to breathe the air, listen to the sound of your feet on the dirt, and hear the wind and the birds and the hawks and the sound of the trees when the wind blows through and the leaves. All these little moments, just to have them
see clouds that make you look like you're underwater.
Yeah, just let them realize that there's more than just emails and deadlines and work. That it's really just the simplicity of your surroundings. Like, we've been blessed with all this around us, these mountains and this terrain.
And so, since it's a 7 or 9 day program, you're going on a journey with them.
Yeah,
you're a coach. You're a bit of a shepherd. You're sojourning with people. I imagine that requires a mixture of patience on your part. It requires a little bit of motivation on your part.
Okay, I'll stop you there and say, I thought being a personal trainer before this taught me patience, but working for the ranch has completely brought that to another level of just
Yeah, because a 1 hour session or a 90-minute session is one thing.
One of the number one rules as a personal trainer is to meet every single person where they're at, to meet every single client where they're at in their life and in their journey. Working for the ranch is no different. When people come, you have to meet them exactly where they're at in life. And it's truly, truly taught me to not judge a book by its cover. People come out of the black cars, out of their Rivians and their Mercedes and whatnot, coming to the ranch, and it's so easy just to look at that and say, "Oh man, this person sucks." But
like, they're entitled, they're going to be,
and a lot of them are, entitled and whatever. But it's my job to break that mold and to show them that it's not about all the material things in their life. It's about all the things that really make a human rich. These experiences and this time outside and this time together with other people, these are the experiences that hold more wealth in life than material and currency. And
so would it be accurate to say that you seek and meet people where they are, but you want to lead them to a place they're not currently in? Yeah. So it's a mixture of both those.
Yeah. And this was kind of circling back into patience. I meet every single person where they're at, and just to be patient with them. They come in and they think they have to uphold this like character that they are. And I'm patient with that until it gets hard on the trail, and that character, that the identity that they think they are, let's say they're the CEO of Spotify, and they come to the ranch, and not saying the CEO of Spotify is coming to the ranch.
For example,
let's say hypothetically the CEO of Spotify is coming to the ranch.
Yeah.
Let's say on paper you are this role and you come to the ranch, and that gets broken pretty quickly when you have to climb, 2,000 feet in 3 miles. You're not that. That's not your identity anymore. You get broken down into a shell of a person.
Yeah, because these aren't little, waltzes around a park. How many hours would you say is the longest hike over the course of the week? Because you do different things over the course of the week. So this isn't just an hour.
The longest hike each day is 4 hours. Sometimes it could be 5, depending on the strength of the group, and sometimes
with a caloric deficit, mind you.
Yeah. So typically, if you were a strongish hiker, Monday through Friday, you're doing between 12 to 14 miles every day. That's about 4 hours on the trail. And like you said, this isn't like a dilly-dally around the park. We're doing, 3,000, almost 4,000 feet of climbing on these hikes and on these like loops, these out and backs, these traverses. And so they break people. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, the hike that I saw you on,
Chamberlain's one of the biggest climbs.
Chamberlain or Leo Carrillo, I ran into you on. We take people up Leo Carrillo.
That is steep.
Yeah, and it breaks them. And I always say, I'm gonna break them like Mustangs. I kind of love it because I'm like a masochist. I love punishing myself and other people, but that's a whole nother topic.
But would you say that it's also not so that you can feel superior to them, but also that it's actually something that's going to unlock something for them?
100%.
It's going to help them to break open this kind of narrow self-identity.
Yeah, and it's just I have to remind them. I'm like, guys, we're going on a hike, and it's going to be hard, but we're going to get through it. And 9 times out of 10, there will be someone on the trail. This is really hard. This is like super hard. Everything. My legs hurt. Yeah, we're gonna get through it. The only way is through.
Not around.
Just like in Scripture.
Yeah.
The only way is through. Like, we're gonna get through this together. And if I see you, I'm getting you to the top, and we're gonna complete the entire thing. And we're gonna do this together as a group. Yeah.
What are some common things that people say at the end of the week to you on a personal basis? I mean, do you hear, "Wow, I didn't know I was capable of that"? Do you hear?
Yeah, a lot of that. A lot of gratitude, and mainly confidence. Just most people come in not even thinking they can complete the 4-hour hike. And it's the confidence they've built through that week, just knowing that they are capable and to see the evidence. I always say evidence equals confidence. And I have this visual of an old filing cabinet and with a manila folders that you pull out. And I say every hard experience in life, you open the drawer with the manila folders and you're just putting evidence into the filing bin. Just like every hard experience after another, put it in the filing bin, close the cabinet, next hard thing, put it in the filing cabinet. And then once you're faced with another hard thing, you open up the filing cabinet and pull out that piece of confidence, or that piece of evidence that provides you confidence. So you look. So I tell the ranchers, we call them the ranchers, I say, you're going to look back on this experience when maybe you're faced with a problem-solving moment in the office, or in your personal life, or in your house, and say, you know what? I did this really hard thing at the ranch. I did this really hard hike. I can get through this. I can get through this board meeting because I did this hard thing at the ranch. It's this evidence that they put in mentally to accomplish hard things in the rest of their life.
Which is such a countercultural reframe in a culture that wants to avoid hard things at all costs.
Sure,
so there's this great book that came out a number of years ago. Michael Easter wrote The Comfort Crisis. I don't know if you...
One of my favorite books.
Yeah, I recommend this all the time.
Yeah,
so if you haven't read this book, The Comfort Crisis, and essentially Michael Easter says that if you study world history, if you study people, in ancient times, and frankly, people also around the globe today, like we are hardwired to overcome very difficult things. And it's very rare for us today to not have to figure out, how am I going to survive the winter? How am I going to catch or grow my food? How will I survive a plague or things like this? And so we're used to adversity. We're used to overcoming things. We're used to traveling great distances to forage or whatever it might be. But in our modern, sanitized, comfortable, convenient, outsourced, air-conditioned world, that our comfort zone has gotten smaller and smaller, and that's created a crisis. And his whole thing is that then first world problems begin to be the things that we deal with, where, somebody as a barista made my wrong drink, and now I'm so upset, and he's like, we're hardwired to overcome obstacles, but when we don't have real obstacles, we like manufacture these first world problem obstacles.
Well, another piece of doing hard things at the ranch, what I tell guests is it's a stress adaptation. So you're adapting to the stress of something being very hard, and you take that into your daily life. And so the stress of a really hard workout or a really hard hike, you're able to just apply that in your daily life. It's similar to putting yourself in a sauna or a cold plunge. You're adapting to the stress of that environment, and you're able to use that.
So let's say more about that. Not everybody can afford to go to the ranch or hire a personal trainer, or even some to even have a gym membership or access to some of these things. But what are some things that people can do without spending a penny to get some of those stress adaptations? What are some things you'd recommend?
Yeah, if you live on the coast, definitely the ocean. I have this routine. I need to get back on it. So what I'm gonna have you do, Drew, is keep me accountable.
There we go. Okay.
So back in June, the start of June to October, I didn't miss a day. So I would do an hour. I would carve out an hour each day after the ranch to jump in the ocean. I would be in there for 10 minutes, and then I'd lay out and get sun exposure.
So no wetsuit in the ocean.
Yeah, no wetsuit.
You're doing that for just some cold.
And no phone.
Yeah.
And so I would unplug. And so I'd say super cheap option would be jump in the ocean if you don't have access to a cold plunge.
What about people who live in the city, high rises, you don't have access to mountains, don't have access to the ocean?
Oh,
there's some stairwells.
This is easy.
Yeah.
These are simple little hacks. Just if you're going to the market, park intentionally a mile away or like half a mile away.
I thought you were going to say on the edge of the parking lot.
No.
You took it up a notch.
No.
Okay, so you're talking about off property.
Oh
here.
yeah, we're talking off property. Like you got to break out Google Maps to pull up Ralph's, and but yeah, it's these things that you don't want to do. This is the way. It's things you don't want to do, but it'll pay off in the long run. So, you're getting in what I like to call BF, bonus fitness. Let's say you park a mile away from the grocery store.
BF,
Guess what? You got to get your groceries, and you got a farmer carry those groceries all the way back to your car. So
make sure they're double bagged.
Yeah, so you're getting a little BF right there. To always take the stairs. Going back to Michael Easter.
That's a big one. Always take the stairs.
Yeah, he says that when Americans, or not even Americans, I think is international, maybe in the world, 2% of travelers take the stairs at the airport. And so he has this whole thing called Be the 2%. So always take the stairs, intentionally, park far away. Just make, okay. I have this saying, I have a lot of little sayings or whatever, but let's back up.
Yeah.
Make easy things hard to eventually make hard things easy.
That's good.
And so it's like putting...
that could apply to so many things.
Yeah, so it's like putting a weighted vest on, going for a walk. If you need to take calls for work, walk around the block. If you want to spice it up, put a weighted vest on. Just do your 20-minute walk or whatever. Park far away.
Take the stairs.
Just make stuff hard intentionally. It's like why we run ultras. It's just like make life a little harder to eventually make life easier. What ultra running has taught me is to be able to problem solve my way through situations in life. It's just like we do hard things to make easy things or to make hard things easy.
Such a good. What are some other little sayings that you've got as we're kind of wrapping up here? Just some little fortune cookie sayings from Hayden Burdge.
Yeah, I mean, my main ones are definitely, people are probably sick of them by now, but keep showing up.
Which, by the way, let's linger on that one for a moment. If you follow Hayden on Instagram, you will see pretty much daily in your stories.
Not pretty much, every day.
Every day. Okay, so that's good. So daily,
Yeah.
keep showing up, and it's some photo. Walk us through, just on this moment, walk us through a typical day in the life of Hayden
Okay,
Burdge.
I'll walk you through a day at the ranch, which
Okay.
is even more extreme. So tomorrow will be a Tuesday. So we're recording this podcast on a Monday. I'll take you through a Tuesday.
Okay.
So tonight's Monday night.
Yeah, it helps hearing the night before.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I'll lead you through the whole thing. So as we record this, it's a Monday. So tonight, Monday night, I'll try to go to bed right at 8 p.m. My alarm is set for 3 a.m. And I don't say it, well, you could say morning, but I like to say the middle of the night.
Yeah, your night ops.
So
right?
my alarm is set for 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I wake up, I get to the ranch around just before 4. So I get up and it takes me 30 minutes to get to the ranch. So I get to the ranch has a smaller personal training gym that's just accessible 24 hours a day. So I get to the ranch just before 4 a.m. I do a little run workout on the treadmill for about 30 minutes, and then I do a 30-minute light weight training session. That's from 4 to 5.
And this is technically off the clock. You're not training
This is
anybody
off
at this
the clock.
time.
My shift
This is just
starts
personal.
My shift starts at 6:30.
Okay, so you're choosing personally to do this. Okay.
Yeah, I'll get there. There's an explanation for there.
Okay.
Yeah. So from 4 to 5, I work out at the ranch, and then I'll go shower, change, and I'll go up to the ranch house. I'll do a bunch of logistic work. I have to get the vans ready, do all this stuff. Then my shift starts. I work with all the private guests. So let's say typically my shift will start at 6 a.m. So I'll go from 6 a.m., hike from 7 to, let's say, 12:30, get back to the ranch, and then some days I'll coach the group fitness. So from 1 to 4 or 5 sometimes I'm coaching group fitness. So I call it a ranch day. So basically I'm at the ranch from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that could be a typical day there. And then I get back to my place. I eat dinner. I go for a walk. I do 1 hour of compression in my Normatec Hyperice compression boots. 1 hour every day. I don't miss it.
So this is part of the recovery, because some people think it's all about stress and the work, and then they forget that the other part of the equation is recovery.
I swear this
And
is how I'm able to run every day is sleep, nutrition, and these recovery boots that are easily the most expensive thing in my apartment and the best investment ever.
Because they stimulate circulation.
It's all compression to air compression.
Yeah, and it's getting the lactic acid flushed through and all that. Yeah.
I don't understand the science, but I'll never not do it. And yeah, so that's a typical day. My day will start at 3 a.m. and end around 5 p.m. And I'm hiking and training clients all day long, and I absolutely love it. I lose track of time.
So it's not a job.
No, it's not a
chore.
It's not a job.
It's like this.
It's not a job. I mean, the fact that they pay me to do this is insane, kind of. I mean, I am in a full-on flow state when I'm there from point A to point B. I'm genuinely getting to do what I love. I'm with people. I'm pushing them. I'm helping them. I'm outside for 4 or 5 hours, and then getting to coach clients in the gym. Come back, and it's like that feeling after an ultra marathon. You you just kind of lay back and you're like, wow, you're fulfilled. You talk to people, you had deep and meaningful conversations, and got to see a team of the hiking guides and the program guides that are super uplifting and positive people. And yeah, I have zero bad things to say about the work experience there.
And complete 180 from 10 years ago.
Yeah, I went from a very depressing work environment, working in an office and designing and being inside from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. To pinching myself every single day and thanking God.
Which some people might thrive in that creative space. So everybody's got to find their own flow state and joyful work
absolutely.
they're doing in the world.
Yeah.
One more phrase that I've seen you use in addition to keep showing up, and I love this. Dirt Church.
Yeah.
So tell me about Dirt Church, because I think you got 23 miles in yesterday.
Yeah.
That's my favorite sanctuary, and I know that I'm a pastor of Bel Air Church, and we gather in a sanctuary made by human hands. But as John Muir says, and I'm paraphrasing, nothing beating the sanctuary that God built. So tell me about being out in the wilderness and what that does for you spiritually, and why do you call it Dirt Church?
Oh man, I could go on. This is a whole nother podcast on this topic.
Give us the tip of the iceberg, and
we'll
we'll have you come back at a future date and we'll go deeper.
Tip of the iceberg is simply being blessed with the day and being able to exist in God's creation, and knowing that this trail that I'm on, everything is perfectly crafted for me in this moment, and God creating the earth and the soil and the wind and the trees and the birds, and everything becomes in sync when I'm running on the trails. I look around me, I hear all the elements and the noises, and I just know that this is all for me. It's truly a gift. That's the only thing I can think of every time, is that this is a gift. I mean, another cheesy saying, they call it the present because it's a gift. It truly is. And I know that God has put me on this earth to serve people and to help them, and to give me a body that is able and capable to push myself and be in these environments and be in nature, be on trails. And so, yeah, Dirt Church it could be on a Sunday, but any day I'm on trail, experiencing life in His creation is truly a blessing, but most importantly, a gift.
Well, it reminds me, so the Gospel of Luke, I think it's chapter 5, it says that Jesus often withdrew into the wilderness to pray.
Yeah.
And every time there's something major that Jesus does, so calling the disciples, certain miracles, you see Him withdrawing to be with the Father, out in nature, out in God's creation, connecting with God. And then He comes out of that place of abiding with God to then shepherd people, to sojourn with people, to paraphrase what you said before, to meet people where they are, because Jesus is the master at it, right? He always meets everybody where they are, without judgment, filled with love, but leading them to a place beyond where they perhaps are stuck in. So when I look at the rhythm of your life, and we've interacted on the trail, and I see online, and we have this time, first time we've ever been inside. This is a bit of, I see you as you follow Jesus shepherding in the same way that Jesus does, because you are like the shepherd of the ranch. And it's not in a overtly way where you're wearing that Christian button, but a shepherd is one who sojourns, who guides. And it's pretty beautiful to see just how God's using you in that way, in a natural way, in an intentional way.
Yeah, I think about purpose a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel that my purpose is to serve, is to be a servant and to serve others and to show them the way. And that way could be physical, like a literal way of follow me on this trail, but just to lead by example and to be a role model and to just to show people that they are capable of more than they ever thought that they could imagine. And so that's my version of being a servant, is to show people and to lead them.
Well, it's beautiful to see. It's beautiful to spend the time out with you on the trails. We've got more time out in the trails that we're going to have in the future. How can people connect with you online? I'll put it in the show notes, but what's really cool is you're really, public about your life, and you post, things that people can learn from home without having to fly or travel to Malibu and be part of the ranch. But how can they follow up with you and connect with you?
Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram. I post a day in the life story every single day. I make reels about my fitness and endurance and ultra running and coaching content and hiking content. It's at Coach_HAYB, Coach Hayden Burdge.
We'll put the links in the notes. And
yeah.
As they say, you're a great follow on Instagram.
Thanks, Drew. Yeah.
Well,
likewise.
much love to you. This is so great.
Yeah.
Who knows when the next time we'll be under a roof will be.
Our next pod will be our encounters with God while running and hallucinating. So
a lot of hallucinations happen when you get above 30 miles, 50 miles. Yeah. Any races on the docket for you?
Yeah, in May, on May 6th, I'm running the Mingus 82, which is a part of the Cocodona series. And so it's in
first year they're doing this particular section, right?
Yeah, so the Cocodona 250 is a 250-mile point-to-point put on by Aravaipa, and they have all these sub distances within a 6-day period, and they just introduced a new 82-mile option that I'll be doing in May.
Awesome. Well, next time we have you on, we'll talk more ultra running.
Oh yeah, that's a whole nother episode.
I know we're gonna have to talk a lot because I've got that Angeles Crest 100 coming up,
and my girlfriend.
Yeah, she's running it, and Suzanne Watson, who's part of this church. A whole bunch of people we know are running that.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a wild time out in the wilderness. Well, much love to you. Thanks for being at the table.
Thank you, Drew.